She posted, "Know your worth, queens." After rejecting my proposal, I knew mine too. When she saw the ring, I gave to someone who actually knew hers. Now, she is saying it was a joke. Hey everyone, using a throwaway because this situation is still ongoing. And frankly, I need somewhere to vent about the absolute insanity that's been my life for the past 8 months. I'm still processing everything that went down. And honestly, I'm not sure if I should laugh or cry about how this all played out.
So, here's the deal.
I'm 29 male and up until recently, I was with my girlfriend Melissa, 27 female, for about 3.5 years. We met through mutual friends at a barbecue and I genuinely thought she was the one. She was smart, beautiful, ambitious, and had this infectious laugh that could light up any room. We moved in together after about 18 months, and everything seemed to be going great. Melissa works in marketing for this trendy startup downtown. And she's always been really into social media, Instagram, TikTok, Twitter, you name it. She had like 15,000 followers and was always posting these motivational quotes and lifestyle content. I didn't mind it at first because, hey, everyone has their hobbies, right? But looking back, I should have paid more attention to some of the stuff she was posting. The relationship was solid for the most part. We traveled together, had the same friend group, shared similar values, or so I thought. We talked about the future constantly, kids, marriage, buying a house, the whole 9 yards. She seemed just as invested in our future as I was. Always bringing up wedding ideas she'd seen online or talking about what kind of engagement ring she wanted. Actually, that's where this whole mess really starts. About 6 months before everything went to hell, Melissa became obsessed with engagement rings. She was constantly showing me pictures on Pinterest, sending me links to jewelry websites, and not so subtly hinting about what she wanted. She had very specific tastes, let me tell you. Nothing under 2 carats. Had to be from Tiffany or Cartier, and it absolutely had to be a classic solitaire setting with a platinum band. The worst part was how she'd bring it up in front of our friends. We'd be at dinner with couples, and somehow the conversation would always turn to engagements and weddings. Melissa would casually mention how she'd never want anything cheapo looking or how important it was to have a ring that photographs well. I started noticing how she'd examine other women's engagement rings, always finding something to critique. "Oh, that's nice," she'd say with a fake smile. But I could never wear something so small. I saved up for months, working overtime, picking up weekend shifts, even sold my motorcycle that I absolutely loved just to afford the ring she wanted. The thing cost me 12 grand, which was basically my entire savings, plus some money I had to borrow from my dad. But I didn't care because I loved her and wanted to give her exactly what she'd been dreaming of. My dad thought I was crazy spending that much on a ring. "Son," he said when I told him how much I was borrowing. "That's more than some people's cars are worth. Are you sure she's worth all this financial stress?" "She's worth it," I told him. "I want her to have exactly what she's been dreaming of." He gave me this look like he wanted to say something else but just nodded. "If you're sure, then we'll make it happen. But son, remember that the size of the ring doesn't determine the size of the love." I should have listened to him. I planned the proposal for our 3-year anniversary. Melissa had always talked about how romantic she thought proposals on the beach would be, constantly showing me videos on TikTok of elaborate beachside proposals. So, I drove us up to this gorgeous spot about 2 hours north of the city. Perfect sunset, waves crashing, the whole romantic movie scene she'd always talked about wanting. I'd even hired a photographer to hide in the dunes and capture the moment because I knew how much Melissa loved having professional photos for her Instagram. I'd planned everything down to the last detail. Even brought a blanket and champagne for afterward. I was nervous as hell, but so excited to finally give her everything she'd been hinting about. I got down on one knee right as the sun was setting, pulled out that Tiffany box, and asked her to marry me. Her reaction was not what I expected. Instead of the tears of joy and enthusiastic yes I was hoping for, Melissa just stood there staring at me for like 30 seconds, which felt like 30 hours. I could see her brain working like she was calculating something. Then she said, and I quote, "Oh wow. This is happening." Not exactly the response you want when you've just proposed. I stayed on one knee, holding the ring box, waiting for her to say something else.
Anything else?
The photographer was still hiding in the dunes, probably wondering what was taking so long. Finally, she reached down and helped me stand up. "I need to think about this," she said. "This is a really big step, and I'm just not sure I'm ready." I was crushed, absolutely devastated. But I tried to be understanding. I mean, marriage is a big decision, right? Maybe she just needed some time to process. So I said, "Okay, take all the time you need." And we drove home in complete silence. The drive home was torture. 2 hours of awkward silence. The ring box sitting in my pocket like it weighed 1,000 pounds. I kept glancing over at her, hoping she'd say something, anything. But she just stared out the window the entire time. When we got home, she went straight to bed without saying goodnight.
That was a Friday night.
By Sunday, I knew something was seriously wrong. Melissa was acting distant, barely speaking to me, and spending all her time on her phone. When I tried to bring up the proposal or ask if she wanted to talk about anything, she'd just change the subject or say she was still thinking. But here's what really got me. She kept taking selfies, like constantly trying on different outfits, doing her makeup, posing in different parts of the apartment. I'd catch her taking dozens of photos, editing them with different filters, writing and deleting captions. It was like she was preparing for something.
Then Monday happened.
I was at work when my buddy Jake texted me a screenshot. Melissa had posted on Instagram and it was a photo of herself looking all glamorous with the caption, "Sometimes the universe puts you exactly where you need to be to realize your worth. Know your standards, queens. Never settle for less than you deserve." Sometimes the answer is no, and that's okay too. Big change is coming soon.
Know your worth. Never settle.
Self-love, boundaries, growth, queen energy. I sat there staring at my phone in disbelief. She'd essentially announced to her 15,000 followers that she'd turned down my proposal and made it sound like I was somehow beneath her standards. The comments were even worse. All her girlfriends were commenting things like, "You deserve better and trust the process, babe, and a queen knows her worth and proud of you for choosing yourself."
I felt humiliated.
Not just rejected, but publicly humiliated. She turned what was supposed to be a private moment between us into some kind of social media empowerment post complete with hashtags like self-worth and know your value and never settle. What made it worse was that I recognized some of the commenters. These were people I'd met at parties, people who knew we were together, people who had been to our apartment for dinner. And here they were cheering on Melissa for rejecting me without knowing any of the details. When I got home that night, I confronted her about it.
"Really, Melissa?
You had to blast our personal business all over Instagram." She rolled her eyes, not even looking up from her phone where she was responding to comments. "It's not about you, okay? It's about me knowing what I want in life. And right now, I'm just not ready for marriage. I'm in my prime. I'm building my career. I have opportunities coming up. Marriage would just hold me back right now. Then why didn't you just say that on Friday instead of letting me humiliate myself?" "I didn't want to hurt your feelings," she said. Like that made it better somehow. But after thinking about it over the weekend, I realized I need to be true to myself. I can't just say yes because it's what you want. I was trying to process this.
So that's it.
After 3.5 years, you're just done. I didn't say I was done. I said I wasn't ready for marriage. There's a difference. But your Instagram post made it sound like you were ending things.
She got defensive then.
You're reading too much into it. I'm just sharing my journey with my followers. They look up to me for inspiration. I have a responsibility to be authentic about my experiences.
Authentic.
You literally hashtagged it like it was a brand campaign. That's how social media works. You wouldn't understand because you're not building a platform like I am. That's when it hit me. This wasn't about her not being ready for marriage. This was about her image, her brand, her online persona. She'd built this following around being this independent, empowered woman, and accepting a proposal from her long-term boyfriend didn't fit the narrative she was selling. The next few weeks were hell. Melissa continued living in our apartment like nothing had happened. But everything had changed. She was constantly on her phone posting more empowerment content and had even started doing Instagram live sessions where she talked about knowing your worth and not settling for less than your dreams. I'd overhear her doing these live sessions from the bedroom. Sometimes she'd say to her phone, "Life puts you in situations where you have to choose between what's comfortable and what's right for your growth. And choosing growth is always the harder path, but it's the path that leads to your authentic self."
The comments would pour in. "You're so brave."
"This is exactly what I needed to hear. Thank you for being vulnerable." She was getting hundreds of new followers every day, and she was eating up the attention. Meanwhile, I was dying inside. Every day, I came home to see her living her best life while I felt like my world had collapsed. The worst part was that she seemed genuinely happy, like rejecting my proposal had liberated her or something. She started going out more, always with her phone in hand to document everything. Girls' nights that lasted until 2 a.m., self-care Sundays at expensive spas, networking events that looked more like parties. Every outing was documented with carefully curated photos and inspirational captions about living authentically. 3 weeks after the proposal, I couldn't take it anymore. I packed up my stuff and moved back in with my parents temporarily. Melissa barely reacted when I told her I was moving out. "I think that's probably for the best," she said, not even looking up from her phone where she was editing a post. "We both need space to figure out what we want." That stung more than I can describe. I'd been with this woman for 3.5 years, had saved every penny to buy her the ring of her dreams, and she was treating our breakup like a minor inconvenience. As I was packing, I found the photographer's USB drive from the proposal. I'd completely forgotten about it. Against my better judgment, I looked at the photos. The shots of me getting down on one knee were actually beautiful. The sunset, the beach, the ring box catching the light, but Melissa's face in every single photo showed confusion, calculation, almost like she was annoyed by the interruption to her evening.
Not joy, not love, just inconvenience.
My parents were furious when I told them what happened. My mom, who had always loved Melissa, was shocked. "She rejected your proposal and then posted about it online."
Who does that?
"The kind of person who cares more about her image than her relationships," my dad said grimly.
Son, you dodged a bullet.
"Any woman who treats you like that isn't worthy of the ring you bought her, let alone a lifetime of marriage." My sister was even more blunt. "She's using your relationship as content for her personal brand. That's sociopathic behavior." At the time, I thought they were just trying to make me feel better. But looking back, they were absolutely right. The first month after moving out was brutal. I was depressed, angry, and felt like a complete failure. All my friends knew what had happened because half of them followed Melissa on social media and had seen her posts. Some of them were supportive, but others made comments about how maybe it was for the best if she wasn't ready or how I should fight for her. "Dude, she's probably just scared," my friend Tom said over beers. "Maybe give her some time and try again." "Did you see her Instagram?"
I asked.
"She's celebrating this. She's literally making money off rejecting me. Social media isn't real life, man."
Maybe talk to her in person. But fight for what?
A woman who had publicly humiliated me and then acted like I was the problem for being hurt by it. I decided to focus on myself instead. Started working out again, something I'd neglected during the relationship. Picked up some hobbies I'd abandoned. Spent more time with friends and family. Slowly, I started feeling human again. The gym became my sanctuary. Every morning before work, I'd spend an hour lifting weights and running on the treadmill. It gave me something to focus on besides the constant ache in my chest. My trainer, Marcus, noticed the change in my intensity. "Whatever's driving you right now," he said one morning as I finished a particularly brutal session. "Channel it into something positive. Don't let it eat you up inside." About 2 months after the breakup, I was at my buddy Mike's birthday party when I met Sarah. She was a friend of Mike's girlfriend, a kindergarten teacher who had just moved to the city from Portland. We started talking by the bar, and I was immediately struck by how genuine she seemed. No pretense, no social media posturing, just a real conversation with a real person. We talked for hours that night about books, travel, our jobs, our families. She was funny and kind and had this way of making me feel like I was the most interesting person in the room. When she laughed at my jokes, it felt natural. Not performed like Melissa's had started to feel toward the end. "So, what brought you to the city?"
I asked. "New adventure?" She said with a smile.
"I was getting too comfortable in Portland. Sometimes you need to shake things up to remember who you are. Are you documenting your new adventure journey online?" I asked, half joking.
She laughed. "God, no."
I tried Instagram for a while, but I realized I was living my life to create content instead of just living. It seemed like a waste of time. I knew I was in trouble. Sarah didn't even have Instagram. When I mentioned that, she laughed and said, "I have Facebook for family photos and that's about it. I'd rather experience moments than photograph them." We started dating slowly. Coffee dates, walks in the park, actual conversations without phones involved. Sarah was everything Melissa wasn't. She was content with simple pleasures, didn't need constant validation from strangers on the internet, and seemed genuinely interested in building something real with me. Our first real date was at this hole-in-the-wall Italian place that Sarah had discovered. No fancy atmosphere, no Instagram-worthy lighting, just incredible food and good conversation. We talked about everything, her students, my work, our families, our dreams. She didn't take a single photo the entire evening. "This is nice," she said as we walked to her car afterward, just being present in the moment. Meanwhile, Melissa's social media presence was exploding. She'd gained like 5,000 new followers since our breakup and had started doing sponsored content for various lifestyle brands. Her posts were all about living your best life, being independent, and not needing a man to complete you. The irony wasn't lost on me that she was literally making money off our failed relationship.
Quick pause, fellas.
YouTube just dropped this new hype feature. If you're hooked on this story, smash that hype button. It tells YouTube this video deserves to blow up, and it keeps even crazier stories coming your way. Thanks so much for your support. Alright, back to the drama. I tried to avoid looking at her content, but sometimes mutual friends would show me things. She'd started doing these Wisdom Wednesday posts where she'd share relationship advice. Don't settle for someone who doesn't meet your standards, one post read. If they loved you enough, they'd step up to your level instead of expecting you to lower yours. The comments on these posts were wild. People were treating her like some kind of relationship guru. You saved me from settling, one person wrote. I needed to hear this today, wrote another. 6 months after we started dating, I knew Sarah was the one. Not because she was perfect, but because being with her felt like coming home. She supported my goals, laughed at my terrible jokes, and never once made me feel like I wasn't enough exactly as I was. More importantly, Sarah knew her actual worth. Not the inflated social media version of worth that comes from likes and comments, but real self-worth that comes from being secure in who you are and what you bring to a relationship. I don't need external validation to know I'm valuable, she told me one night as we were cooking dinner together. My worth isn't determined by how other people see me. I started shopping for rings again, but this time felt completely different. With Melissa, I'd felt pressure to meet these impossible standards she'd set based on what would photograph well for her Instagram. With Sarah, I just wanted to find something that would make her happy. Because I loved her, not because I was trying to impress her followers. I found the perfect ring at a local jeweler. It was elegant, but not flashy, beautiful, but not Instagram bait. It cost about half what Melissa's ring had cost, but somehow felt infinitely more valuable because I was giving it to someone who would treasure it for what it represented, not for how it would look in photos. The jeweler, an older man named Frank, helped me pick it out. This one's special, he said, holding up the ring. Classic, timeless, elegant. The kind of ring a woman wears because she loves the man who gave it to her, not because she wants to show it off. I proposed to Sarah on a random Tuesday night in my apartment. She was grading papers at the kitchen table, her hair in a messy bun, wearing one of my old college sweatshirts. I'd planned to wait until the weekend and do something elaborate. But sitting there watching her work, seeing how focused she was on helping her students, I just knew it was the right moment. I got down on one knee right there in the kitchen and asked her to marry me. Her reaction was everything I dreamed of. Tears, laughter, and a yes that came from her heart, not from a calculated assessment of her brand image. She said yes before I even had the ring fully out of the box. Oh my God, yes. She laughed, tears streaming down her face. Yes, of course. Yes. We stood there in my little kitchen holding each other and crying happy tears. No photographer, no perfect lighting, no audience except us. It was perfect. That night, Sarah called her parents and her sister to share the news. She posted exactly one photo on her Facebook account just for family and close friends. The caption was simple. He asked. I said, yes, we're engaged. No hashtags, no motivational quotes, just pure joy. I was so happy I could barely sleep. The next morning, I posted a single photo on my own Instagram account that I barely used. It was a picture of Sarah showing off her ring with the caption, she said yes. I found someone who knows her actual worth, and I can't wait to spend my life with her. I didn't think much about the post. I have like 300 followers, mostly family and close friends. It was just my way of sharing happy news with people I cared about. I should have known it wouldn't stay quiet for long. We had mutual friends with Melissa, and apparently one of them saw my post and showed it to her. My phone started blowing up around noon. First it was text messages. Are you serious right now? And this is how I find out you're engaged and we need to talk. Then Melissa started calling. I didn't answer the first few calls, but she kept trying. Finally, I picked up. What the hell is this? She screamed before I could even say hello. Hello to you too, Melissa. What are you talking about? Don't play dumb with me. I saw your Instagram post. You're engaged? Yes, I'm engaged to a wonderful woman who actually wants to marry me. There was a pause then. This is insane. We broke up 8 months ago and you're already engaged to someone else. Actually, you rejected my proposal 8 months ago, then posted about it online to humiliate me. There's a difference. That wasn't supposed to be permanent, she shouted. I just needed time to figure things out. I was stunned. Melissa, you literally posted about knowing your worth and not settling. You said marriage would hold you back. You were happy when I moved out. That was just social media stuff. I was building my brand. I never said I didn't want to marry you eventually.
Eventually. After what?
You'd gained enough followers to make it worth your while. That's not fair, and you know it. What's not fair is rejecting someone's proposal and then acting like they're supposed to wait around indefinitely while you figure out if they're good enough for your brand. She was crying now. I made a mistake. Okay, I realize that now, but you moving on this fast just proves you never really loved me in the first place. That made me angry. I loved you enough to save every penny I had to buy you a $12,000 ring that you rejected. I loved you enough to respect your decision and give you space. And I loved you enough to let you go when you made it clear I wasn't what you wanted. But I do want you. I've always wanted you. The proposal thing was just bad timing.
No, Melissa.
Bad timing is proposing right before someone has to work late. Bad timing is proposing when someone's stressed about family stuff. Bad timing is not posting on social media about how you deserve better than what someone offered you. I never said I deserved better than you. You literally #EdNeverSettle.
Another pause, then in a smaller voice.
I can fix this. We can fix this. I've learned so much about myself over the past 8 months.
I'm ready now.
I want to get married. To me, or to anyone who will help you get more engagement on your posts.
That's not fair.
It's a legitimate question, Melissa, because from where I'm sitting, this sudden interest in marriage seems pretty conveniently timed with me moving on with someone else. The conversation went on for another 20 minutes. With her alternating between begging me to reconsider and getting angry that I was being unreasonable. She kept insisting that her rejection had just been a joke, that she'd always planned to say yes eventually, that I was taking everything too seriously. It was never a joke. I finally said, you made a choice. You chose your online image over our relationship. You chose followers over a future with me. Now I'm choosing someone who chooses me back. When I finally got her off the phone, I immediately called Sarah and told her what happened. I expected her to be upset or worried, but she just laughed.
Oh honey, she said.
That's the most transparent thing I've ever heard. She had her chance and she blew it. Now she wants what she can't have. Are you worried about her causing problems?
Should I be?
Are you having second thoughts? Not even for a second.
Then I'm not worried.
Let her throw her tantrum.
We have a wedding to plan. But Melissa wasn't done.
Over the next few days, she launched what I can only describe as a social media campaign to win me back. She posted old photos of us together with captions about realizing what you had after it's gone and fighting for love. She did Instagram live sessions where she talked about how social media had made her lose sight of what was really important. The comments on these posts were wild. Some of her followers were supporting her journey of self-discovery, but others were calling her out. Didn't you just spend 8 months telling us to never settle? One person commented, now you want back the guy you said wasn't worth it? This is confusing. Another commenter wrote, last week, you were posting about being independent and not needing a man. My phone kept ringing with calls from our old mutual friends. Some were telling me I should give her another chance, that she'd learned her lesson. Others were warning me that she was just trying to save face because her perfect single life wasn't as fulfilling as she'd pretended. My friend Jake called to give me a heads up. Dude, she's been texting everyone we know, trying to get them to talk to you. She's telling people you two were taking a break, not that you broke up. She's making it sound like you cheated on her or something. The breaking point came 2 weeks later. Sarah and I were out to dinner celebrating her getting a promotion at work when Melissa showed up at the restaurant. I have no idea how she knew we'd be there. But suddenly, she was standing at our table. I need to talk to you, she said, completely ignoring Sarah. This isn't the time or place, Melissa.
When is the time?
You won't answer my calls.
You won't text me back.
I'm desperate here. Sarah, bless her heart, just sat there calmly sipping her wine, watching this unfold like it was dinner theater.
I made a mistake, Melissa continued. The biggest mistake of my life.
I let my stupid social media obsession get in the way of the best thing that ever happened to me. But I've learned my lesson. I deleted all those posts. I'm ready to be the woman you need.
Melissa, you need to leave.
This is inappropriate.
Is it because of her?
She asked, finally acknowledging Sarah. Because I can be better than her. I can give you things she can't. That's when Sarah spoke up.
Like what? Public humiliation? Instagram drama?
Because honestly, I'm not interested in competing for someone who's already chosen me. Melissa turned to her, eyes blazing. You don't even know him like I do. You've been together what, 6 months?
8 months?
Sarah corrected calmly long enough to know that he deserves someone who says yes when he proposes because she loves him. Not someone who turns it into a social media moment and then regrets it when he moves on. You have no idea what you're talking about. I know he bought you a $12,000 ring that you rejected. I know you posted about it online instead of handling it privately. And I know you're only here because you can't stand that he's happy without you. By this point, other diners were staring. The manager was approaching our table. I stood up and put a 20 on the table. We're leaving. I told Melissa, don't contact me again. Don't show up where I am. We're done. And we have been for 8 months. But I love you. You love the idea of me. You love having me as an option. But you don't love me enough to have said yes when it mattered. Sarah and I left the restaurant hand in hand while Melissa stood there crying. It should have felt victorious, but mostly I just felt sad. Sad that it had come to this. Sad that Melissa couldn't just let me be happy, and sad that she'd wasted both our time with her social media nonsense. The harassment continued for another few weeks, but eventually died down. Melissa's social media presence took a hit as people got tired of the drama and unfollowed her. Last I heard from mutual friends, she'd moved to Los Angeles to focus on her influencer career, which apparently wasn't going as well as she'd hoped. Sarah and I got married 6 months later in a small ceremony surrounded by family and close friends. No social media coverage, no hashtags, no brand partnerships, just two people who love each other making a commitment to build a life together. The funny thing is, I'm grateful to Melissa now. Not for the pain and humiliation she put me through, but for showing me what I didn't want in a partner. Her rejection led me to Sarah. And Sarah is everything I never knew I was looking for.
Update 6 months later.
Hey everyone, I got a lot of messages asking for an update on this situation.
So, here we are.
First, Sarah and I are doing amazing. We just celebrated our 6-month wedding anniversary, and honestly, every day with her feels like a gift. She's pregnant with our first child and we're both over the moon. She's handling pregnancy like a champ, and watching her prepare to become a mother has made me fall in love with her all over again. We found out we're having a little girl and Sarah cried happy tears for an hour. Not because she posted about it online, but because she's genuinely excited to be a mom. We've been painting the nursery on weekends and she's been reading every parenting book she can find. As for Melissa, well, that's where things get interesting and honestly pretty sad. Apparently, her Los Angeles influencer dreams didn't work out as planned. According to mutual friends, she burned through her savings trying to make it as a full-time content creator and had to move back home with her parents. Her follower count dropped significantly after the restaurant incident and brands stopped wanting to work with her. Jake told me the whole story when we grabbed drinks last month. Apparently, Melissa had moved to LA with these grand plans of becoming a lifestyle influencer. She got an expensive apartment in West Hollywood, was doing sponsored posts for random brands, and was trying to network with other influencers. But the market is saturated, and without any real unique content or authentic personality, she couldn't gain traction. She was spending more on photo shoots and fancy locations than she was making from sponsors, Jake said. Plus, people started calling her out in the comments about her whole engagement drama. It hurt her credibility as a relationship advice guru. About 3 months ago, she reached out to apologize. She sent me a long email taking responsibility for her behavior and acknowledging that she'd been selfish and immature. She said therapy had helped her realize that she'd been using social media to avoid dealing with real intimacy and that she'd pushed away the best relationship she'd ever had because of her own insecurities. The email was actually pretty well written and seemed genuine. She talked about how she'd gotten addicted to the validation from strangers online and how that had warped her perspective on what actually mattered in life. She admitted that she'd turned our relationship into content and that she'd been more concerned with her image than with our actual happiness. I appreciated the apology, but I didn't respond. Some things are better left in the past, and responding would only give her false hope. Then last month, I found out through friends that she'd gotten engaged to some guy she'd been dating for only 3 months. The engagement photos were all over her Instagram with captions about, "When you know, and love finds you when you're ready." Sarah just laughed when I showed her. She's doing the same thing she did before, just with someone else now. Some people never learn. The really crazy part is that several people who knew our history commented on her engagement photos, asking if she was sure this time or making jokes about whether this poor guy knew what he was getting into. She ended up turning off comments on most of the posts. But here's the kicker. Apparently, the new fiancé is some crypto bro who she met on a dating app. He's got like 1 million followers on TikTok and she's clearly hoping to ride his coattails to influence her success. The whole thing seems super transactional, but maybe they're happy together. I genuinely hope they are. I genuinely hope she's happy and that she's learned from our experience, but I have my doubts. When someone's primary way of relating to the world is through social media performance, it's hard to build authentic relationships. Meanwhile, Sarah and I are preparing for our baby, planning to buy a house next year, and just living our quiet, happy life. No drama, no games, no performative social media posts. Just real love with someone who knew her worth from day one and wasn't afraid to show it. Sometimes the universe really does put you exactly where you need to be, just not always in the way you